Welcome back, everybody, to TB Sports 27. We're so glad to have you here. And it is time for the Week 17 RXFL recap. And what makes this one so important is we're going to look at the final scores of Week 17. We're going to see who the committee chose to go to the postseason. And we're going to look at all the final stats, all the final standings. This is it. This is what it's all come down to. The regular season has come to a close. And it all comes down to this. Thank you again for tuning in. Thank you for being with us on the RXFL journey up until this point. Thank you to our Patreon supporters, our Ultra fans, our Mega fans, our Super fans. We appreciate each and every one of you, our historians. Check us out, patreon.com/tvsports27. You can really help support the channel in that way. So here we go. Let's take a look at how the rest of the game shaped out in the regular season. We are going to, now I don't want to see the playoff schedule just yet. I can't see the Week 17 schedule. Hold on. I'm going to put a little block up here. I don't want to spoil it for you guys. Can we not see Week 17? Okay, here we go. Week 17. So here's how the rest of the season played out in Week 17. It was the Chicago Wolverines. They got the 2-point win there. Toronto, 7-point win. They're division champs over the New England Nightmare. The Tennessee Oilers finished on a high note. So the Houston Voyagers going to Troy Aikman, it seems like it didn't have much success at that regard. We streamed that one with you, the St. Louis Rhinos and the Mexico City Golden Eagles. The Cougars ending on a high note. They tried to have a second-half comeback to be remembered, and they end up with a 21-point win over the Orlando Wizards. Columbus, they got the win over the Memphis Egyptians. Unfortunately for them, Dallas got the win over Las Vegas, so that knocked them out. New York with an opportunity at maybe getting into the postseason. We're going to see what the committee decided there. The London Monarchs, we saw that one. They got the win. That knocked Brooklyn from the postseason. Dallas winning the National East with the beatdown of Aaron Rodgers and the Las Vegas Cardinals. The Philadelphia Benjamins, a slight win over the San Francisco Demons, 28-24. So the Benjamins will finish, I believe, at 8-8. Salt Lake City, the Shocker, 40-21 over Tom Brady's Atlanta Dirty Birds. That knocked them from the postseason. And Portland is going to finish with 15-1 record. That close to an undefeated season, guys. If you can believe that. Portland was that close to an undefeated season. It was Columbus that beat them, right? And that was one of the games we played. A beatdown. 24-3. The Armadillos, they get the win, so it's going to be up to the committee if them or London gets the number 1 seed. They knock off the Pittsburgh Sting. The LA Kiss as well is going to be in that debate as they win a tight contest over Oklahoma City. And of course, we know that the Redwoods lost to North Florida, which puts them into the committee's choice, and then Dublin got the win over London. So here we go, guys. You guys ready to see who the committee chose? It has all come down to this. We've been waiting. Who did the committee pick to go to the postseason? Let's start in the National Conference since we kind of know how this one shapes up. So 15-1, the London Monarchs, they are your number 1 seed. The committee gives the nod to the St. Louis Rhinos. They put them at number 5. So the Rhinos that had a very slow start to their season. Can we look at their schedule? You got to go to the team, I guess. I want to look at the Bulldogs as well, but the Rhinos, who had such a slow start to their season, a turnaround. The committee, they got together, they decided, and they said that it is the Rhinos that are going to get the bid as the number 1 seed. So that's preseason stuff. They went undefeated in the postseason, but you see, they started off at 3-1, and then here's where they had that stretch in the middle where they lost to the Egyptians, the Armadillos, and the Marshalls. 2 of those losses are pretty bad. So when we were looking at them, we saw they were at 4, and they're at 3-4. They had a losing record at 3-4 going into Week 8, and then look at this turnaround that they had, including some big wins, the 40 points that they put up. Now, they had that loss to the Cougars, so that's somewhat concerning, the fact that 3 of their 4 losses were pretty bad losses to some bad teams. But from 3-4 to a postseason turnaround, my goodness, for the St. Louis Rhinos. And then real quick, we're going to take a look at the Lumberjacks here. And their 15-1 record. And it was the lone loss to the Aviators. There it was, 24-10. But other than that, cruising on through big point totals. Look at this. Look at the second half of the year. Big point totals between 50 and 20 and 30 points. That was a dominant team. So we'll go back to it real quick. We'll head back to the standings. And again, in the National Conference, the committee goes with the St. Louis Rhinos. And interestingly, they put the team that was once 9-0, they put them down as the 4 seeds. They ranked them under the Golden Eagles. And I'm guessing it was that head-to-head. The Rhinos' head-to-head win must have given the committee the go-ahead to give the Rhinos the 2 seed. The Golden Eagles will come in and have to play a wild card game, as will the Wolverines. The Dallas Desperados at 10-6 are going to get the 5 seed, and the Tampa Bay Mutiny are going to get the 6 seed as a conference champion. Unfortunately, the Aviators, same record as the Mutiny, but they're in the East. So, and there you see how the rest of everybody else shapes up. There's the Demons, the Aftershock, the Cougars, Aaron Rodgers' squad, the Marshals, the Egyptians, and the Wizards. And now to decide the American Conference. And they went with the Redwoods. The committee, despite 6 losses in a row, they give the nod to the Redwoods. So Austin Armadillos gets the nod as the number 1 seed. I kind of forgot that the Monarchs had that loss right there, but the committee does not take that tie into account of anything. So the Armadillos, your number 1 seed. So the number 2 team overall, the Austin Armadillos. Number 1, the Lumberjacks. Monarchs come in. The Monarchs do get the nod over the LA Kiss. So the committee did put that tie over the Kisses 4 loss there. So Armadillos 1, Monarchs 2, the LA Kiss a number 3 seed. The Huskies end up finishing at 10-6. The winners of the American East. The Lancers get the 5 seed, and the committee, they get together. I'm trying to see, and the points for, points against. The points for, they went to the Celtic Tigers by 1, and I'm trying to see what the committee went with. Even the Celtic Tigers had more home wins at 6-2. I don't know if they took road losses into that. Division was better as well for the Celtic Tigers. Now, if you're going for national wins, 3 for the Redwoods. Man, sorry. Sneezing. So, I don't know if they took the national conference wins into account there, but... Or maybe they went American Conference, but American Conference wins, which would be the American Conference, again, that favors Dublin. So everything we're looking at here favors Dublin. I mean, they had more conference wins at 7 compared to the 5 for the Redwoods. The only thing that the Redwoods did better with was national conference wins, but for the context of the playoffs, that doesn't matter. Road wins, that is in the favor of the Redwoods, but home wins go in the favor of the Celtic Tigers, and points for versus points against go in the favor of the Celtic Tigers as well. So the committee goes with the Redwoods. My goodness. All right, before we look at the playoffs, let's look at some final standings here, or some final stats, I should say. Did we do the whole American side? Just all the way to the bottom here, just so you guys can see. There you see Nashville, or the Tennessee Titans, at 7-9. Brooklyn 7-9. The team that was predicted to win it all, they finish at the number 21 seed. There's Pittsburgh. North Florida ends up finishing at 5-11 compared to where they were at one point in the season at 0-7. The Voyagers down there, the Nightmare, and Salt Lake City down there as well. So we will look at the final stats, and then we will look at the playoff tree. And then after that, I'm going to play some Splatoon for about an hour with you guys. You guys want to see some Splatoon action here. So we are looking for final stats here of the regular season. So, oh my God, that sneeze got me. So we'll look at individual stats, and we're going to look at everybody and kind of compare them up. So here's how things finished up in the RXFL's inaugural season here. So if we're looking for total yards, your king of pro football is John Elway. 41 touchdowns to 17 picks, 5,202 yards passing. Right behind him, and that's how disappointing that's got to be, Peyton Manning. 45 touchdowns of his own. Now, a lot of interceptions, but 4,900 yards passing. Aaron Rodgers, another disappointment. They had a really bad season, but he's way up there. Sammy Baugh had a really good season, 4,500. Touchdown to INT ratio could be a little better for him. Michael Vick, 4,400 yards passing. You don't usually think of Michael Vick as that kind of lights out passer, but there he is. Jim Kelly as well, leading his Rhinos to a first-round bye. Otto Graham had a very good season, the 4,000-yard mark. Warren Moon, who won 2 titles with the Huntington Beach Killer Whales. There's Tom Brady, who's going to be sitting at home. Fran Tarkenton as well, disappointed in the committee's choice. There's Deshaun Watson, Norm Van Brocklin. So a lot of folks that hit that 4,000-yard mark. Not going to go through everybody here, but Steve Young, just our first to finish under 4,000. And there's Roger the Dodger, Joe Theismann. They're going to be in the postseason. Mahomes, Sid Luckman, Kenny Stabler, Johnny Yu, Cunningham, Dandy Don, and Russell Wilson, the number 1 team, didn't need a whole bunch of fancy numbers. Look at that. He's the lowest of the low as far as the 3,000 guys, and they got the number 1 record. Wentz didn't do too good. Lamar Jackson was injured for a decent part of the season, so that's why his stats are so low. Boomer got benched, and you see RG3 had a lot of playing time as well. There's Troy Aikman coming in relief of Boomer Esiason, and how he fared. Some brief time for Cordell Stewart. Steve McNair got some time as well with the Marshalls. Bob Waterfield, Kurt Warner, who was the original starter of the Oilers and then got benched, and some playing time for Rich Gannon, Big Ben. There's Phillip Rivers, Drew Bledsoe, and kind of rounding out some folks that got some playing time here. Not kind of much to write home about, but folks that had some throws. So we will look now in the rushing attack category here. So no one finished with 2,000 yards in the Legends League, but Earl Campbell, he's going to finish with 1,600 yards with the Pittsburgh Sting and 12 touchdowns. LT, so the top running backs, and that's been the debate, do you pay a running back? Well, the top running backs for these teams didn't make the postseason. LT, 1,500 yards. Now, Dickerson did make the postseason. Boise State's Eric Dickerson, all right, from the blue turf to the purple. He rushed 1,400. Walter Payton, they did not make the postseason, but a respectable 1,400 yards for him. Jim Brown, LA Kiss, did make the postseason, and we'll just go down the list here as you kind of saw some of the big names off the top, but Terrell Davis, only 1,000 yards, and it's kind of shocking me how low the stats are for the Lumberjacks, considering how dominant they've been this season. I mean, both Terrell Davis and Russell Wilson's numbers are way, way down there, and they got the number 1 team. So you can kind of pause, go at your own pace on YouTube or on Patreon if you want to check out the rest of that. Receiving wise, I think there's no doubt Randy Moss is going to get some postseason action. Your number 1 receiver, Michael Irvin, right behind him at number 2, Ed McCaffrey with the Monarchs. Stephon Diggs bringing in 1,000 yards on Salt Lake City. Harold Jackson, Julio Jones, Lynn Swann. Got all those numbers from Aaron Rodgers. There's Lavelli, Lofton, a couple of Firebird players up there. So we got a number of receivers that finished in the 1,000-yard category. Again, you can kind of, I encourage you to check this out on YouTube and kind of look at it at your own pace and check that out. So for stats, let's look at sacks. Who is your sack king? And with 26 sacks, shattering a pro football record, Khalil Mack. Right behind him, Merlin Olsen, Mean Joe Green, Gino Marchetti, in the 20 club. And then Derek Thomas, look at all the damage these guys did. Look at the numbers. Holy smokes. All right. We're going to look at interceptions here. And your interception king, Jake Scott, he got 10 of them with the Lumberjacks, not London. I was trying to think of the Lumberjacks. Earl Thomas there at 9. Asante Samuel also with 9. Forced fumble, your forced fumble king, Night Train Lane, Bobby Wagner, Deion Jones. And as far as your defensive touchdowns go, your king of the defensive touchdowns, Ty Law, had 3 of them. And we will look at kicking now. Your best kicker for field goal attempts percentage is going to be Garo Yepremian, who was the kicker of the championship team of the Atlantic City Eclipse. He goes 17 of 18. Mark Mosley goes 30 of 32. And, of course, everyone else. Nobody finished 100%, but some good numbers nonetheless. Let's see, longest field goal. Who kicked the longest in the league? And we had Elam, of course, breaks his own record at 64 yards. And then Mark Mosley with 64 as well. So there's your final stats. So now we're going to look at the playoff tree. Any records that we had fall? Or let's look at the yearly awards. So Michael Vick is going to win your league MVP. And you can see everybody else where they finished. And so congratulations to Mike Vick. And your coach of the year goes to Pete Carroll with the 15-1 Lumberjacks. So Michael Vick, your MVP. And we'll see records that were broken here. And let's see, not for a career, but how about, do we have any game records? Of course, there was the first week, John Elway. You see Jim Kelly on this list as well, and Brett Favre. So a couple of top records were broken here for this season. And so that was mostly for a game. You had Dickerson that had a 360 game, and Gale Sayers 345 that broke some records. I don't know if we saw the 360 game from Dickerson, did we? Not sure if we did or not, but for the season, let's see, do we have any season records broken? We had Elway that finished kind of high up towards the list, but Peyton Manning still the king up in that regard right there. We have passing touchdowns, and we saw Manning on the list with 45 for the London Bulldogs. Rushing, no one's going to get close on the rushing list, and so defensive sacks, though, there's your shattered record. Mean Joe Green and Khalil Mack getting up there, passing up Michael Strahan. Has always been known as the king of that record there, but it was broken twice this season. So, and there you see Night Train Lane, who is still your record holder there. So, okay, now let's look at your schedule and what the postseason is going to look like here. Here we go, guys. So it is going to be kicking things off. We've seen this battle happen a couple of times. We're going to get to see it happen one more time. The Sacramento Redwoods, the number 6 seed, will travel to take on the LA Kiss. That's going to be your first postseason game. Then the Chicago Wolverines hit the road because they're a wild card team. They're going to take on division winner, National East, the Dallas Desperados. So who would have thought that Chicago, after a 9-0 start, would be on the road in a postseason game? Of course, the American West champions, the LA Kiss. The Toronto Huskies are going to host the Oklahoma City Lancers. They're winners of the American North. And the Tampa Bay Mutiny at 9-7, just barely snuck into the postseason. They're going to host the Mexico City Golden Eagles. So the Golden Eagles got to go on the road to take on the Tampa Bay Mutiny. And then, of course, they're not going to show us the divisional round, but of course, waiting for them is going to be the London Monarchs. It's going to be the Austin Armadillos, the Lumberjacks, and the St. Louis Rhinos. So overall, the committee ranked the LA Kiss number 4, which is ahead of the Rhinos, but you got 2 different conferences here. So if they were in a different conference, the LA Kiss would have gotten that first round bye. But there you can see where it all finishes out. Number 1, the Lumberjacks. Their season to win. You got the Armadillos with Michael Vick, who is the league MVP. The Monarchs, who have been on fire all season long. The LA Kiss with 4-time Super Bowl winner Terry Bradshaw. So you got, as far as quarterbacks go, Russell Wilson, Michael Vick, John Elway, Terry Bradshaw, Jim Kelly. I mean, it's a huge Slinging Sammy here. Joe Theismann, Brett Favre, Lamar Jackson, Steve Young, Deshaun Watson, and Otto Graham. There's going to be your quarterbacks there as the nod goes to the Redwoods via the committee. Thank you guys so much for tuning in here. For those of you that are watching, we are going to switch the stream over. We're going to play a little bit of Splatoon for you guys, all right? We're going to play some Splatoon. So for those of you that are watching, give me a couple of moments. I got to unplug this and plug in the Nintendo Switch. We're going to play Splatoon, and we'll upload like 2 more days of Splatoon with you guys. For those of you on YouTube, for the RXFL, we sign off for right now. Thank you guys for being supporters. Thank you for tuning in. Subscribe, hit the thumbs up, follow on all the different platforms. For those of you watching on YouTube, watching on Patreon, give me a couple of moments. I'm going to switch this over, and I'm going to get some Splatoon going here on the channel, so stay tuned. And for those of you on YouTube, if you want to see Splatoon, either sign up patreon.com/tbsports27 to catch the early release, catch it on Twitch live, tbsports27, or you'll want to tune in tomorrow, YouTube. We got a couple of days of Splatoon coming your way, so stand by.